This is David from mymetaloftheday, and I'm here with the band Dawn of Ouroboros, who is going to be playing Progstorm Festival in Montreal this coming August. If you've seen a few of my recent Progstorm interviews, I'm doing a bunch in this series to kind of support bands that are playing the fest. And Dawn of Ouroboros is also a band that I have seen multiple times in the past and like quite a bit, and I'm quite excited to see. So to get started, why don't we have each of you just kind of go around and give a brief intro on who you are, what you play, and maybe anything else you want to share.
I can start. Yeah, Tony. I do guitar and synths.
Hi, I'm Chelsea, and I do vocals.
I'm Ian Baker. I play bass for Dawn of Ouroboros, and I've played music with Tony for many years.
Almost 20 years, almost.
Wow, very cool.
I'm Bobby. I play guitar, and if we're doing ancient history, I've played music with Ian and Tony for probably 15 years too. And Chelsea, pretty much all these guys. So,
except for me. I'm Chris, the drummer of Dawn of Ouroboros, and I met Dawn by playing with my other band. My first tour with my band Tomarum was my first time meeting Dawn, and it was friendship at first sight.
Yes, it was.
Aww.
Very cool. And Tomarum is also an amazing band, and I've seen Chris play with them too. So good stuff.
It's exhausting.
Well, cool. Well, again, thank all of you for taking the time and coordinating across multiple time zones. I really appreciate it. Let's talk about how the band got started. It sounds like a bunch of you have known each other for quite some time, but how did Dawn get its start to begin with?
Yeah, so I've known Ian, played in bands with Ian for many years, and then I would say around late 2018. Chelsea, Ian, and I were in a band that ended, and then Chelsea and I kind of decided to just start our own band, which neither of us had really ever done before. And it was more just like, hey, let's just write songs, and it'll just be whatever it is, and not really think about it, and just kind of have fun. And we wrote a whole album, and then brought Ian on board once we started playing live. And it was really just like, let's just make our own band and have fun and not think about really what it should sound like. Just kind of do what feels natural and do whatever we want, really.
What about others? What are like some of your thoughts, coming into this? I know, Chelsea, since you were there from the beginning.
Yes, I can corroborate his story. That is true. Tony and I did become a creative duo and co-created Dawn of Ouroboros, and it's been a good learning experience. I wasn't particularly into black metal prior to doing Dawn, and I actually took the time to study black metal for a number of months prior to really writing Dawn, and I fell in love with a number of bands out there and realized the power that is black metal. So channeling that into the progressive metal was quite important to us. So as far as its conception, it was really just me and Tony kind of like exploring together and deciding what we wanted to do, but not putting any weight on what the outcome might be. I didn't think it would be anything, and I'm pretty excited that we've done as much as we have. So, very grateful.
So, in a lot of respects, it sounds like it was really just hey, let's go have some fun. Let's write some songs and see what happens, but no real expectations necessarily at the beginning. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
That is correct. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Pretty wild, isn't it? To kind of start from there, and like you fast forward to here we are, mid 2026. You've got several albums under your belt. You've got some festival appearances, a bunch of tours. Did you imagine any of that back in 2018 when you were starting this out?
I really thought, like, once we were releasing our first single, I was like, nobody's gonna like this. I think I even told Tony that. I was like, nobody's gonna like this. Like, what are we doing? But yeah, it turned out well for us. I'm fortunate that way, I guess.
Ian, I know it sounds like you were brought in relatively, early on. Kind of what was some of your early, kind of influence in the band, and how did you kind of get hooked up with everything?
So I actually joined the band on second guitar, um, with Tony writing all the guitars on the first album, and us having David as our bass player at the time. We needed a live second guitarist, and I was kind of like not really doing anything at the time, so I was like, yeah, sure, let's see how that goes. And I feel like it was a lot of fun. It was very different for me from playing bass. I feel like it really developed my guitar playing and my overall musicianship, so it was a great experience for me. And yeah, it's been cool to see the growth of the band like year after year. It's pretty awesome to think of how we started versus where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Bobby, how about you? How did you kind of get involved, or when did you get involved?
That would have been, let me think about that. It would have been, Tony probably knows the exact date, maybe like April of last year. So
Yeah, for
yeah, and so I mean, I've played music. I didn't play music for a few years in college, and then got back into it. Replacing Tony had left to go pursue a science degree. This is probably 15 years ago now, maybe more. And Ian was in that band, and then I was literally knew Tony for a while, quote unquote. And then we've been friends ever since. And the band that Tony and Chelsea mentioned have played with my bands over the years. And then in April or so of last year, it, it was kind of a last minute thing. It's like, hey, we're going to go out and tour with Baroness. Can you do it? And we did. And kind of similar to Chelsea, I didn't have much experience with black metal at all prior to that point, and have really, come to like a lot of the bands in it, and obviously Dawn's music as well. So that's sort of how it was just a, pack your bags, we're going on an adventure kind of thing, and then been doing it ever since.
And then Chris, you mentioned that it was kind of like friendship and love at first sight,
Yeah.
when you met the band. Kind of when was that, and kind of how did that all come to be?
That had to have been 2021. So Tome Room formed as a full lineup. We went on our first tour to support the first album, and at the first show, I was already messing with Tony. We were immediately launching into making inside jokes within a single show, because it was kind of a shit show, that first one, because we had to do our own sound because the sound guy just didn't show up and all that stuff. And it was just, from there, we stayed in touch, from that tour, and had a group chat going for a long time. And when Ron made the decision to step away, Tony asked me if I could, fill in for a bit to finish out the shows they had. And I said, sure, because I loved hanging around them. And then it just kind of became, I was in the band from there. It just kind of, he popped the question. I was like, hell yeah, I'll do it. You guys are great. And then here we are.
Oh, very cool. No, thanks for sharing that. Chelsea, I wanted to circle back to you. You mentioned you actually spent some time studying black metal bands and trying to learn it. And I think obviously it sounds like maybe you're honing kind of how you were going to approach it. Who were maybe two of your three biggest influences as you were starting this out?
Number one would definitely be Death Heaven. I really like that post-black magic that they've got going there. They're also from the San Francisco Bay Area like us, so mega bonus. Second would be Alcest. They're actually going on tour with Death Heaven later this year, and I will definitely be there at their Oakland show, which I'm very excited about. I would say third, that's a hard one. Who gets the third seat? I would say third isn't necessarily straight up black metal, but it's I don't really know what to call them. The name is Cowan, and they're from well, now they're from the Czech Republic, originally from Russia. Um, they're very unique, and I definitely fell in love with them. So yeah, those would be probably my main influences.
Oh, very cool. It sounds like definitely the kind of the more like progressive and kind of post black metal.
Yeah,
Kind of
like I definitely
what you're
listen to
into.
more. Yeah, I definitely listen to more than that, but I think that's what really like I pulled from in terms of inspiration for Dawn. Um, but I definitely listen to more of the traditional things as well.
Mhm.
I would say there's probably a lot of black metal people out there that would scowl at me for even saying what I just said. So yeah.
No, that's super cool. Death Haven's a great band. So is Alcest. Speaking of that tour, I'm actually pretty disappointed they're not coming to the Pacific Northwest, but I'm likely going to go see them in a different city because that's just a tour I
Yeah,
can't
come to
miss. So.
Oakland. Come
Yeah,
party
we'll
with us.
probably. Yeah.
It's gonna be a good show, and those two with Mastodon, like it's a sick lineup.
Yeah. No, I can't believe it. It's like my dream tour lineup. PSA
Yeah,
to
no, it's
Steph
definitely.
having take us out on the road. Thank you. All our friends think we'd be a phenomenal fit. Definitely no bias.
Well, cool. Well, thanks everybody for sharing. One thing was, so moving on. Obviously you've got a few albums under your belt, but I know that at least for me personally, I saw a ton of growth from Velvet Incandescence to Bioluminescence, your latest album, and I reviewed Bioluminescence last year. It was an album I really loved, and I definitely felt like it felt like you all really kind of honed in on more of your sound on that album. I don't know if you would agree or not, but that definitely, I know for me, as I listened to the progression from kind of the debut up through Bioluminescence, like everything just seemed to gel more, and you really found that sound, which I think the mix you're trying to come up with prog and kind of post black and even some of the shoegaze elements, some of the other things that you got going on, it for me at least, it hit really hard. So I'm just curious. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, how do you feel like, as you were kind of writing that album, how did that kind of come into being? What was your approach to writing Bioluminescence?
For me, the songwriting usually starts with me, where I'll do arrangements on my own first. I didn't really change anything in my process from the first two albums. It's just kind of write songs until there's something that I like, and then think, hey, I think this is good enough to share with everybody else. I would say one thing that I do between each album is I try to, still make it sound like the same band, but to do things to where I'm not repeating something I've already done. So then that forces me to, try new things musically that I haven't done before or that are out of my comfort zone, while still trying to make it sound like the same band. So that led to at least Bioluminescence, and even more so with material we're working on currently, to becoming more progressive.
Yeah, I can definitely hear that progressive influence. It definitely comes out a lot more on Bioluminescence, no question about it. How about others? What are some of your thoughts?
That was the album where I officially switched over to bass from guitar. And David, who's still a dear friend of ours, him and I have very different styles. I come from more of a jazzy, progressive kind of background. So I think how I tackled those songs kind of added to the new direction that we were kind of heading in, because, we don't want to ever repeat the same album, right? We're always trying to evolve. So I thought my approach to what the bass should do on those songs and on that material kind of helped shape the new direction we were kind of heading in.
How about you, Chelsea?
For me, I wanted it to be more of an exploration playground, as I do with every album. I feel like I unlock a new skill set every time I write with Dawn of Ouroboros, and for that I'm very thankful. It was more about just, I think as you write more albums, you kind of get in your own head on expectations around like what will land and what won't land. And I think we make an active pursuit of not taking that into consideration and smashing out any intrusive thoughts that might come our way regarding how we should sound versus how we want to sound.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
I had a great time pretending to be Ron.
How about you,
But he left the band after recording the drums, so I just got to do the music videos, and everybody thinks I did a great job because he did a great job, so here we are. It's a fun album to play, though. I really like it.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of really killer drum parts on the album. Super technical, a lot of just really almost jazzy fills at times, and then you get the really speedy blast beats too. Just a lot of cool stuff going on drumming wise.
Yeah, definitely. And then with our upcoming material, it'll be our first release that fully has Chris on drums, where he composed all of the drum parts.
I go buck wild in a few
songs. We feel that it really, even pushes us even further.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Super cool. No, I definitely look forward to hearing that. Well, maybe diving into a couple songs on the album. A personal favorite song of mine, Slipping Burgundy. Definitely one of the more, I'd say, unique songs on the album. Definitely very different from the rest. It's just, part of what I think I like about it so much. And, what's interesting is there's been a handful of songs, released in the past, year or two that kind of bring out more of that jazz feel. Like another song that I love, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, is Love Souvenir by Seven Spires. Kind of has a similar kind of like that silky jazz cabaret feel at the beginning, and then it just rips your face off, as you're getting maybe a third to halfway through, not unlike Slipping Burgundy. And so I'm curious, like, what was the inspiration for the song Slipping Burgundy?
For the arrangements, you go ahead, Chelsea. Yeah.
This is very much my song, so I will speak. But, Tony obviously is an integral part of bringing it to life, and I'm very thankful that he obliged me in such a way. I am a huge Twin Peaks fan to begin with. Huge David Lynch, clearly a big fan. Universe fan, and I really wanted to. I was hoping he'd be alive when it dropped. I really wanted to write something for maybe him to see, and it unfortunately didn't work out that way. He ended up going into another realm before it dropped, even though we had done the recording and the music video and all those things prior to the event. So for us, it was quite devastating that he actually transpired in such a way to another realm right before. So there's that aspect of it. And then I've always really loved jazz lounge singing, and I asked Tony if we could do something like that, and I felt very strongly that it should be done in a certain way, that it starts out with the slow jazzy portion of the song and then escalates to something more black metal adjacent. So we got to work on that. The stand-up bass was also a pretty unique addition to that. So thank you, Ian.
Well, I didn't even play the one that's on the album. We hired a professional because I haven't touched one since college. But then upon filming the video, I had to kind of relearn it, and it was actually really cool to pick that back up again.
Yeah, the stand-up bass on the album is Jason from the Kilimanjaro Dark Jazz Ensemble and the Lovecraft Sect, if you're familiar with those.
Oh, cool.
Chelsea has done some collaborations for the Lovecraft Sextet, so that's how we're in contact with him.
Oh, that's fun. Ian, is there any thought that you might, play the stand-up bass live sometime?
Oh, as soon as we wrapped the video shoot, I wanted to buy one. I was looking into it. I definitely would consider that. Like I said, it brought me back, and I realized how much fun it was and how more challenging it is too. Like just the string tension, the spacing, kind of finding where those notes are. It's a whole different style of playing. So that is something I'm definitely open to exploring more in the future, for sure.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if Eddie from the Anchorette has a stand-up bass in Montreal somewhere.
That would be sweet.
Oh, cool. Well, maybe move to another song, Dueling Sunsets. That's, other than Slipping Burgundy, I think Dueling Sunsets is my favorite song on the album. And love to know kind of what was some of the inspiration for that song specifically.
I listen to a lot of synthwave groups as well, like Gunship and stuff. So it's kind of like a synthwave metal song. It's just the vibe I was trying to capture when I initially wrote it. And yeah, that's probably the most obvious in a section near the end where there's kind of a drum solo and alt synths. And live, Chris improvises a drum solo, and then Bobby has added a guitar solo over that part as well. That just really adds to our live show.
Yeah, it's a good closing song for sure.
Yeah, you never know what I'm
totally
going to play because I don't know what I'm going to play as soon as I sit down.
One that I really like a lot. And
Bobby and I.
Yeah, what's going on over there, Bobby?
No, it's Bobby. Bobby at a party.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, there's music happening.
Unfortunately, yes.
Too.
Yeah. Why is there fucking hold music?
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Yeah. What happened? Like, you guys went froze for a while. Sorry, not to derail the interview, but.
Well, it was actually good timing because your name was mentioned in the song "Dueling Sunsets." So, we'd love to hear some of your thoughts on the song and how you contributed to it. So I could just put you on the spot since you're joining and making noise.
Sorry. I'm so sorry, David. I can barely hear you, man.
No.
We lost him.
And we lost him again.
Bobby
All right.
shreds a really cool solo that you'll see live, but you won't hear on the record. So if you're in Montreal at Progstorm, get ready for some hip action and synthwave magic on the noodling.
And an expanded, fully improvised drum solo on that part as well. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yep, I never know what I'm going to play.
So one more song question. Poseidon's Hymn. I've at least heard rumors that this is inspired, at least in some way, by Chelsea's cat. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about Poseidon's Hymn and the inspiration for that song.
Definitely is inspired by my cat. Yeah. Poseidon, not spelled like correctly. He's my boy, and he deserves his own little song. So we wrote him his own little song, and that's pretty much it. Obviously, lyrically, it's very much an ode to the mythical god Poseidon, but we feel that it's applicable to the cat as well. So that's pretty much it. And every show I enjoy telling the crowd that it is pretty much about my cat. So
we're playing the show, just put a giant picture.
We just
I think that's a
do a
great idea.
slideshow of pictures of Poseidon for the whole song as our backdrop.
Yeah, it's a really fun song too. I know it's definitely another one of my favorites from the album. Of course, I could probably say that about almost every song from the album. It's a really great album, start to finish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Tony alluded to it a little bit earlier, but when we're talking about how the band's been honing its craft and kind of figuring out its sound and trying to continue to grow, you kind of alluded to, hey, the new material is continuing to do that. So, I always like to ask the question, like, what's the status on new material? Obviously Bioluminescence came out not quite 18 months ago. Maybe it was, 15 months ago approximately. But how are things looking for, the next album in the Dawn of Ouroboros catalog?
We have the initial arrangements is full. I have them fully written for the full album. We have 3 songs already completed with everybody's ideas. It's just I'm in the transcription phase for the second half of the album, and then we sort of, I guess, pass it around. I'll have my idea, and then I'll send it over to Chris, and then he'll just do any drums that he wants, and then usually I don't have to give any feedback at all to what his ideas are, but if I have to, I'll be like, hey, maybe this is more what I had in mind, and then we kind of just exchange the ideas, and everybody just does whatever they want, and trust that it's gonna work out really well, and so far it has.
Yep. Yeah, Chelsea and I tend to go last, but I definitely need to know what Chris is doing before I figure out the bass.
And then from an overall sound perspective, how would you say it's shaping up to be a little different than Bioluminescence? What are maybe some of the things that are maybe consistent, but then what are some of the areas that maybe you might be pushing some boundaries more or doing things a little bit differently in?
It's definitely even more progressive than Bioluminescence, but it still sounds like the same band. We're not changing up the sound. It just sounds as if we've developed further into the realm of progressive metal.
Yeah, a little bit more of those jazzy elements, a little more groove, but still very much what makes Dawn, right?
And Chelsea, how do you decide when to use the more extreme vocals versus cleans? Like, kind of what's the decision point there, and how do you decide when to do what?
I think really the decision is feeling, honestly. When we are writing, a lot of it for me is just improv, and what I'm feeling fits is what usually I build on and stays. There's a lot more vocal exploration on this new album, I would say, than our preceding.
Well, cool. I definitely look forward to hearing that. That sounds pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I think overall as a band, most of us come into the ideas that we have through improvisation at some level. Be it with Chelsea, who she's even had improvised takes that make it on the final album, or myself, like I'll just improvise over a certain area until I have an idea. And I think it's similar for Chris and Ian.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of bass parts that I wrote as I was tracking. It was like, this is what it should be, and then just immediately
figuring
record
out
it
what
and move
I
on.
did in improvisation and just recreating it.
That's actually really cool. And it definitely sounds like it's, even though like Tony, it does sound like things initially start from you, but it does sound like it's still a very collaborative process with everybody getting to contribute.
I'm sure it'll be clear, but it sounded like he said, he writes through improvisation and then re-records it for the...
Yeah, that is kind of what it sounded like there. But yeah, like I said, it definitely sounds like, there's a lot of feeling from each of you put into the music, a lot of good collaboration. And I think, like I said, with Bioluminescence in particular, you can feel a lot of that. You can feel that, there are different influences coming together. And I know the album to me has always felt very organic, if that makes sense. And so that's something that I think is, it definitely really comes through, and it's not surprising based on what you've just described.
Yeah, I feel like we've developed a lot of like trust in each other where it's like we don't really need to like, hey, are you okay if I do this? It's kind of like we just kind of know like, hey, like you're whatever you're going to do is going to sound good, it's going to contribute to the end product, right?
No, that's awesome. I love it. Well, one final question. I started out this interview from the get-go saying that, this is a Progstorm featured interview. You guys are all playing Progstorm here in, less than 2 months now. It's hard to believe, actually. I will be there. I'm excited for it as well. But, maybe just a little bit, how did the Progstorm appearance come about? And what are each of you the most excited about for Progstorm?
Yeah, as far as us playing Progstorm, I believe we were submitted to the festival via our booking agent, Ryan.
Car bomb.
Yeah, and then a bunch of our friends are playing the festival, Desiderium, Exist, and Grey Lotus, Ancients. So it'll be good to hang out with a bunch of people we know. And then bands are excited to see, I've always been a fan of Cynic for years, and then also very excited to see Car Bomb, as Chris would say.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Yeah, same thing. Montreal is always a good time. And, having just played a 3-day festival where we were like, our time slot was a little bit earlier in the day, I'm excited to play a little bit more into that prime time hour. And Chris is cracking up over here about something.
How about you, Chelsea? What are you most looking forward to at Progstorm?
I think for me, the energy, more than anything. It's just when you play a festival, it's a different type of energy. But similarly to Tony, Cynic and Car Bomb have been inspirations to us, and we're excited for that. We're also excited to kind of be reunited with a lot of homies on this tour, Ancients and Grey Lotus, and we're just excited to be with our people and succeeding with our people. So, yeah.
Yeah, it should be a good time. It's definitely it's a great lineup. I would say it's a very, very impressive lineup, and I definitely think Dawn of Ouroboros is a fabulous addition to that lineup, and I'm definitely excited to see you guys there, and excited to be there. It'll be my first Progstorm. I was unfortunately unable to go last year, and I'm still kicking myself for that. So definitely looking forward to it this year.
Us too.
Yeah.
Well, as we're wrapping up here, any final words? Anything you'd like to leave the audience with?
I'm the best at this. I just would say thank you to everybody that continues to support us. We're so lucky to have you. We don't deserve you, but somehow you're here. So thank you. Tony always rags on me for saying things like that. He's like, we do deserve it. I'm like, I don't know. But, thank you for that. And we're really looking forward to playing Progstorm, getting to know some new people, and getting to hang out with some familiar faces. So please do come out and support everyone out there. Yeah, I guess that's really it.
I just wanted to say the reason why I was cracking up is because I timed the Car Bomb perfectly. I was laughing because that's exactly how long it took for me saying Car Bomb for you guys to hear it.
Well, thank you guys so much.
What she said.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. It was really fun talking to you, even despite some of the technical issues. And, I definitely look forward to seeing you all here pretty soon. So thanks again, and we'll see you next
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. See you there.
Thank you so much, Dave, for your time.
Everybody stay metal.
Awesome.